Okay, welcome back. This is segment 2 of our 4-part series, part 2 of the 4-part series on how real estate works in Minnesota. I'm Keith Hittner, Senior, your realtor at Coldwell Banker Realty. This is not sanctioned by Coldwell Banker, by the way. This is just old Keith Areno talking to you. I've been doing real estate for 35 years, so I know a little bit about it. Thousands of transactions, a lot of people helped and served. All right, so let's talk about the seller. What's it mean to the seller, this new world, so-called new world? Well, in Minnesota, not much, because we've always had a listing agreement with a seller, and for years now, we've divided the commission that's paid to our brokerage for doing the work on our side versus the cross-sale payout. It's always named on how much we're going to pay the other company. So for years, the seller has known that, I'll pick numbers out of the air. These are not hard, fast numbers, but it just makes the arithmetic easy. So if you charge 6% and we're paying out 3% to the other company or whoever brings the buyer to the table, that's listed clearly in the listing agreement so that the seller knows that they're going to get charged 6%, and of that 6%, 3% of it is going to go to some other company or some other agent. It's pretty simple. Been like that forever, and nothing has changed. That then 3% then was published in the MLS online so that other agents who go to our MLS to share information know how much they're going to get compensated. It's basically that. Nothing magic about it. It's been going on like that for 100 years, or for as long as there's been an MLS. Now, the MLS, I just want to digress a minute. The MLS is not going away. The MLS is not Zillow. It's not Realtor.com. It's not House.com. It's the real estate agents and their association's proprietary database where all properties that are sold in our state are listed so that all other agents can share that information and have an opportunity to present that to their clients. Simple as that. And we use that as a resource then when we're doing markets on properties to list so that we know what comparable properties similar to the ones that we're trying to list, have sold for recently. And that gives us an idea of the value of the property that we have. That's how it works. Now, what has changed is, about the early 90s, there was a large lawsuit that said, look, you're talking about all the agents working for the seller all the time. Even the agent that has a buyer on their arm, when they come in and cross the threshold of the house, they actually become a sub-agent of the listing agent. Kind of confusing because they may or may not even know the listing agent, don't work for the same company. How are they somehow beholden to that seller? Made perfect sense. So they implemented buyer agency, had agency forms that we had to present so that people knew who was working for who, and the buyer had as much right as representation as a seller did. And it didn't much matter where the money was coming from because that was considered a marketing cost that the seller had already agreed to, and the listing agent was going to spend the marketing dollars however they're going to spend it to get the job done. And in some cases, that meant it's going to go to another company and another agent. Pretty simple. Everyone was still advocating on behalf of their client, no matter where the money came from. So we don't disclose how much money is spent on Zillow, or disclose how much money is spent on Realtor.com, or disclose how much money is spent running ads in a local newspaper or a magazine or anything else. So it seems like, I don't know why we need to disclose how much money is going, these marketing dollars are going to another company, but we do. All right, so in full transparency, we do, so that people know where those dollars are going. None of that's going to change. What's changing is that number can no longer be published in the multiple listing service as of July or whenever they get around to implementing it later in the year. Okay, how are we going to know? Well, companies will just publish it on their own websites or in other places. It can't be a direct feed from the MLS, but it's still going to get out there and people will still know. I think it would be better if it was just made public so everybody knew, including the buying public. Everyone should know what that property is paying out so that they know what all the numbers are in it. But they thought in their wisdom that they shouldn't have it be on the multiple listing service anymore, and so there'll be just another way to do it. That the logistics of all that haven't been worked out yet, but they will be. Not really much of an impact on anyone. So that's how it works on the listing side of the transaction. In part 3, we're going to talk about the buyer side and what that means to the buyer in terms of costs and how those costs are burdened by the buyer.